You open the microwave and hear the beep. A frosty tray slides out, steam curling upward like a promise. It's quick. It's familiar, the way dinner showed up when you were juggling deadlines, errands, exhaustion. You think you're buying convenience. But what if the comfort you're counting on carries a silent storm inside? Tonight's easy meal could be delivering well over 1,000 milligrams of sodium in a single tray. That's more than half your day's limit before you've added anything else. While you were watching the credits, labs inside a factory were layering hidden thickeners, restructured protein, and flavor shots that trigger you to finish the plate. This isn't just dinner, it's a design, and you deserve to know what it's doing to your body. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which frozen dinners could be quietly sabotaging your health, and more importantly, the two that don't. Let's pull back the film. Number 1. Hungry Man. You pop a Hungry Man dinner into the microwave. The film hisses, steam rises, and the smell of fried chicken fills the kitchen. It feels safe, the kind of meal that's seen you through long nights. But inside that comfort is a quiet system wearing your body down. Each tray delivers about 970 calories and 1,690 milligrams of sodium. That much salt doesn't just season, it reshapes how your heart works. Sodium draws water into your bloodstream, inflating blood volume, and forcing your heart to pump harder. Within minutes, blood pressure climbs. Your arteries stiffen to handle the surge, and your kidneys scramble to clear the excess. Over time, that cycle thickens artery walls, dulls vessel elasticity, and locks your body into a constant state of tension. Meanwhile, the starches that thicken the gravy and the breading on the chicken break down into sugar almost instantly. Glucose spikes, insulin races to balance it, and an hour later, your energy plummets. That crash isn't fatigue from work, it's the chemical hangover of engineered flavor. The chicken itself tells another story. What looks like a juicy cut is often mechanically separated meat scraps forced through high-pressure screens bound together with sodium phosphate. Those additives trap water so it feels tender, but what you're tasting is moisture held by salt, not muscle fiber. Each bite triggers your brain's pleasure circuit, salty, fatty, sweet, and leaves you craving more. It's satisfaction built on manipulation. Here's what most people don't notice: with repeated exposure, your taste buds recalibrate. Natural foods, a roasted chicken breast, a bowl of vegetables start tasting bland. Your brain now expects the jolt of processed salt. That's how a habit becomes dependence. You don't crave the brand, you crave the design. And the design is deliberate. The Hungry Man lineup was built to hit what food scientists call the bliss point, the perfect mix of sodium, fat, and sugar that lights up dopamine receptors. It mimics reward and masks exhaustion. The more you rely on it, the more your system adapts. Metabolism slows, blood vessels strain, and inflammation simmers beneath the surface. What looks like a hearty meal is actually the perfect recipe for long-term fatigue. By the numbers, eating one of these trays 3 nights a week pushes an average adult over 5,000 milligrams of sodium, more than double the American Heart Association's recommended daily limit. That's not a statistic. It's a pressure test your body quietly fails over time. High sodium intake thickens arterial walls, dulls kidney filtration, and feeds hypertension, the slow, invisible kind that builds decade by decade. Even the packaging plays a role. The bold red logo, the word hearty, the photo of golden chicken all tell your brain safe, strong, familiar. But behind that image is industrial precision gravy pumped from steel vat, sauces thickened by emulsifiers, and drumsticks molded to cook uniformly under conveyor heat. It's nostalgia built in stainless steel. And yet millions still reach for it because comfort sells. It's the meal that feels like you're taking care of yourself even when it's quietly doing the opposite. The salt sedates you, the fat rewards you, and the sugar disguises it all. That's the quiet brilliance of Hungry Man. It doesn't just feed you, it conditions you. It teaches your body that exhaustion is normal, that heaviness equals satisfaction, that real food should feel like this. But the truth is simpler and harsher. Every easy bite chips away at balance until comfort itself becomes the thing that's hurting you. So next time that red box calls from the freezer, pause. Look past the nostalgia, the promise, the smell of fried batter. Because it tastes like comfort until you realize it's comfort designed by a chemist. Number 2. Banquet Mega Bowl. The freezer door slams. Neon labels shout from every shelf, mega loaded double meat. Banquet doesn't whisper, it performs. The promise is abundance, protein-packed, extra flavor dinner that means business. The kind of meal that tells you it's worth every bite. But behind that shine is an architecture of appetite designed to make you want more even when you're already full. Inside each Banquet Mega Bowl sits a calculated formula. The numbers look simple: about 600 to 750 calories, 1,400 milligrams of sodium, and a lineup of compounds your grandmother never owned. The secret isn't in the chicken or the sauce. It's in the reaction that happens on your tongue. Maltodextrin, monosodium, glutamate spice oil concentrates together. They trigger what food scientists call a bliss curve, a sensory crescendo, so sharp it overrides satiety. At first bite, you feel rewarded. Flavor hits from every direction, salt first, then fat, then sweetness. Your brain lights up with dopamine, the same neurotransmitter that fires when you check your phone or win a game. For a few minutes, it feels good, satisfying, powerful, alive. But chemically, you're being tricked. That dopamine burst suppresses leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, while stimulating ghrelin, the one that tells you to eat more. You're full, but your brain disagrees. Here's the catch. The flavor that feels rich is in truth synthetic. Spice oils imitate slow-cooked depth. Caramel coloring fakes browning. Yeast extract fakes umami. It's a loop of artificial peaks. No valleys, no real texture for your senses to rest. That's why halfway through your body starts craving water, but your brain keeps saying just one more bite. Scientifically speaking, the pattern mirrors mild overstimulation. Taste receptors fire continuously. Your salivary glands work overtime, and then suddenly the crash. The meal is gone, but the signal doesn't stop. Your bloodstream now carries a sodium surge, your cells pull water inward, and within an hour, dehydration begins. The fatigue that follows isn't coincidence, it's compensation. Banquet sells that fatigue as satisfaction. The brand's language, Mega Double Hearty, equates heaviness with value. The more it weighs, the more it's worth. But the irony is cruel. What feels like fullness is often neural burnout. Your senses are overstimulated to the point of silence. The meal wins by exhausting your ability to notice what's happening. Once receptors fire, that hard, natural food feels lifeless. A fresh bowl of rice or steamed vegetables can't compete with a synthetic dopamine spike. The next night, your brain expects the same rush, the same engineered saturation. And that's how dependence forms, not by addiction in the legal sense, but through repetition that rewires comfort itself. Still, it's brilliant marketing. Banquet isn't just selling dinner, it's selling dominance. A story of bigger equals better, built on the illusion that excess means strength. The product satisfies only because it overwhelms. When your brain is too busy reacting, it can't tell the difference between nourishment and noise. Minutes later, the glow fades. What's left isn't satisfaction, but thirst, a dull heartbeat, a light headache, and the quiet urge to eat again. That's the genius and the danger of engineered flavor. It conquers. Not your hunger, but your balance. Because the truth is simple, it fills every corner of your tongue and empties every signal that tells you to stop. And if Banquet builds its power by overwhelming your senses, the next brand takes a softer approach, the illusion of wholesomeness. A friendly green label, a word like homestyle, and suddenly you trust it. But what if that golden crust and fresh from the oven smell are hiding something far heavier than flavor? Number 3. Marie Callender's Chicken Pot Pie. Marie Callender's Chicken Pot Pie looks innocent, the golden crust, the calm picture of dinner done right. But inside that flaky shell hides a load your body quietly struggles to process. One pie delivers more than 900 calories and roughly 950 milligrams of sodium. That combination doesn't just fill you up, it slows you down. The saturated fats thicken your bloodstream for hours. Sodium draws fluid into the vessels, forcing the heart to work harder, while your digestive system idles under the weight. You feel full, heavy, sleepy, not comforted but sedated. And yet the brand remains trusted. Marie Callender's built its empire on one word: homemade. The fonts mimic handwritten recipes. The boxes show warm kitchens. The slogan whispers made from scratch. It sells the story of Sunday dinner, the illusion of butter melting on grandma's counter. But every cue, from the color of the crust to the steam on the photo, is a trust signal. It tells your brain this is safe, this is real. Look closer though. The label quietly lists palm oil interesterified, soybean oil modified starch, and whey concentrate. These aren't pantry staples, they're industrial binders designed to hold shape and extend shelf life. The buttery aroma comes not from butter, but from diacetyl analogs engineered to simulate it. The gravy's thickness isn't slow simmered. It's achieved through gums and starches that trap water, making each spoonful feel dense and hearty. Physiologically, that density translates into delay. The blend of fat and sodium slows gastric emptying, meaning the meal lingers longer in your stomach, dulling energy and metabolism. Blood sugar drifts upward, insulin spikes, and your system drifts toward low-grade inflammation. Over months, that pattern compounds. Fatigue after dinner becomes routine, and the body begins to equate heaviness with satisfaction. It's the perfect conditioning loop for repeat sales. That's the real genius of the homestyle illusion. After years of big flavor marketing like Banquet's Mega Bowls brands discovered something subtler consumers trust quiet. Words like made from our kitchen crafted and real ingredients disarm scrutiny. Green accents and craft paper textures create a health halo, even when sodium rivals a fast food combo. You don't question the pie because it doesn't shout, it smiles. The campaign also manipulates portion perception. Many pot pies are labeled as 2 servings, but few people split them. Eat the whole thing and the numbers double nearly 2,000 milligrams of sodium, more than a full day's limit. Still, the label technically tells the truth, and the brand maintains its wholesome image. Legally accurate, nutritionally deceptive. Culturally, this works because nostalgia is a safe currency. After long days and uncertain times, home sells better than healthy. A pie that feels warm and familiar offers control, a story that life is still under your hands. But that story has been packaged, barcoded, and reheated. Comfort is no longer cooked, it's manufactured. By the time you push away the empty tin, your body is already compensating. Heart rate elevated, sodium balance tilting, digestion slowed. You call it satisfaction, but it's metabolic fatigue wearing a smile. This is the system behind Marie Callender's success. Not deception, but design. A choreography of language, color, and chemistry that transforms processed heaviness into emotional relief. It doesn't need to taste perfect. It only needs to feel familiar. Because in today's freezer aisle, home isn't where food comes from. It's what the marketing makes you believe. The illusion of home worked because it felt honest, warm, slow, and human. Yet honesty itself has become a marketing language. After Marie Callender's The Next Frontier isn't comfort or nostalgia anymore, it's status. Now the freezer aisle doesn't just want to feed you, it wants to impress you. Number 4. Devour loaded potatoes with Angus beef. Devour entered shelves in 2016, sleek black boxes, molten cheese, bold promise, food you crave. Kraft Heinz called it restaurant-quality rebellion in a tray. Yet inside it runs on the same industrial recipe loop, fat, thickened, sodium-loaded, and chemistry recycled for profit. One Devour loaded potatoes with Angus beef meal carries roughly 700 calories and 1,240 milligrams of sodium. That level doesn't signal luxury, it signals labor. Sodium draws water into the bloodstream, swelling pressure and burdening the heart. Saturated fats, slow digestion, forcing the gut to hold longer, heavier contents. What feels indulgent is in truth mechanical fatigue engineered to taste rich, while your system works overtime to process it. The shift from budget to premium wasn't a nutritional leap, only a stylistic one. Devour's launch reframed industrial food as masculine self-indulgence. Commercials zoomed in on dripping bacon, cracked forks, and bold voices that sold appetite as rebellion. The marketing language was lust, not nutrition. Its dark packaging signaled confidence aimed squarely at younger buyers tired of diet language but still hungry for validation. Behind that swagger lies the same Kraft Heinz assembly logic. The cream-based stabilizers and emulsifiers used in Devour are mirrored across Smart One's Velveeta bowls and even Lunchable sauces. Shared vats, unified flavor codes, one network feeding multiple identities. In those stainless steel kitchens, reformulation is minimal, only the storytelling changes. This is efficiency disguised as innovation. Every new sub-brand draws from the same ingredient archive: modified starch for consistency, soy lecithin for flow, xanthan gum for sheen, and sodium caseinate to mimic dairy fullness. Each has passed the corporate shelf life test: stability, first taste, second nutrition, last. When one formula works, it becomes the backbone of 10 different meals. Economically, it's brilliant. Centralized production cuts cost per serving by nearly half, while premium branding doubles perceived value. A single line can earn what 2 old ones used to without a single upgrade in quality. The black box earns loyalty. The flavor remains static. Consumers think they've traded up, but they're paying more for repetition dressed in confidence. The biological toll stays unchanged. The same sodium density, the same saturated fats, the same emulsifiers that keep sauces glossy also strain gut balance. They thin protective mucus layers, alter microbiome ratios, and over time blunt taste sensitivity. That craving for bold flavor, it's not appetite, it's adaptation. The body adjusting to engineered excess. Kraft Heinz thrives on that loop. High sodium and fat keep consumers oscillating between reward and fatigue, a physiological marketing cycle. Once the craving resets, repetition feels like choice. And that's the quiet triumph of the giants. They've turned habit into a business model. The result is a system that no longer sells food but reassurance. You see sophistication, convenience, control. They see efficiency, volume, predictability. Every glossy tray reinforces sameness while calling it progress. Devour promised restaurant quality and delivered corporate precision. The sauce is smoother, the story louder, the result identical. Because in this system, luxury isn't the opposite of cheap, it's just the same formula wearing better lighting. Number 5. Smart Ones. When you pick up a frozen meal labeled Smart Ones, what exactly makes it smart? The portion, the recipe, or the profit it brings to the company that made it? Because behind that bright pink box, and its promise of mindful eating, lies one of the most efficient and most hidden shortcut systems in the frozen meal industry. The name itself was born to inspire trust. Smart Ones once carried the Weight Watchers badge, a halo that suggested discipline and self-care. The design whispers reassurance, light, feminine, guilt-free. But what sits under that label isn't light at all. It's industrial meat and rehydrated starch, sculpted into the shape of wellness. Each tray saves calories not by improving quality, but by shrinking volume and increasing additives that hold texture together. Most of the proteins in Smart Ones come from mechanically separated chicken or textured soy protein low-cost bases that begin their life in vast overseas plants. They're blended, cooked, and flash frozen in bulk, then shipped back to U.S. facilities for final mixing and packaging. The logic is simple: every kilometer traveled adds efficiency, not flavor. By outsourcing early stages of processing, Kraft Heinz slashes material costs by nearly 30%. One production line can output meals for multiple sub-brands, simply swapping the sauce and label. Inside those production loops, science takes the place of cooking. Sodium phosphate keeps the rehydrated proteins firm, preventing crumbling during freezing. Hydrogenated oils stabilize sauces against temperature swings. Modified starch and maltodextrin simulate creaminess without using fresh dairy. These are not inherently poisonous, they're engineered convenience. But when eaten repeatedly, the body bears their cost phosphate excess burdens. The kidneys' oxidized fats inflame the gut, and the steady sodium load pushes blood pressure higher. The meal may look smaller, yet the strain it leaves behind is cumulative. Even the nutritional math hides a trick. 280 calories sounds responsible until you notice the sodium count, often 600 to 800 milligrams per tray, equal to a fast food sandwich. Light becomes a linguistic illusion achieved by trimming fat while inflating salt and starch. It's balance on paper, imbalance in practice. Still, the branding works. The color pink evokes health and optimism. The words smart and light frame the choice as intelligence. Consumers see restraint and assume care. What they don't see are the multi-tier contracts that feed identical ingredients into different boxes: Devour, Velveeta Bowls, Smart Ones, each claiming its own identity. In the end, it's one network, one formula, many stories. This system thrives because it delivers what the giants need most: predictability. Consistent texture means consistent shipping. Standardized taste means universal sourcing. The same chicken slurry can travel continents, thaw, and still meet spec. For corporations, that's brilliance. For nutrition, it's erosion. Every shortcut widens the gap between food and the human touch that once defined it. And yet the deception is gentle. Nothing illegal, nothing overtly toxic, just layers of optimization that slowly dull both palate and expectation. You start to believe that good enough is healthy, that smaller means safer, that light means smart. It's not the product that teaches this lesson, it's the system. The truth is simple. Smart Ones didn't make frozen food better. It made frozen food more efficient to sell. Because in this supply chain, intelligence isn't measured in nutrition, it's measured in savings. And every shortcut that keeps the box affordable moves the meal one step further away from being real. For years, frozen meals have promised speed, comfort, and control, and too often they've delivered only the illusion of those things. But the story doesn't end here. A quiet shift is happening inside the same aisle: smaller brands and family-owned companies choosing real ingredients over additives, short supply chains over shortcuts. These aren't miracle fixes, just signs that integrity still matters. Because the freezer doesn't have to be a graveyard for nutrition, it can be a second chance for better choices. And the next two names on this list prove that frozen food can still taste like food. Number 6. Amy's Kitchen. Not every frozen dinner is built on shortcuts. Some still begin the old-fashioned way with vegetables chopped by hand and sauces simmered in real pots. That's how Amy's Kitchen still works. The company started small in 1987 when Andy and Rachel Berliner began cooking vegetarian meals for their newborn daughter Amy. What began in a home kitchen has grown into one of America's few family-owned frozen food producers, still using organic, non-GMO ingredients. It's proof that scale doesn't always have to erase soul. At first glance, Amy's looks simple boxes of lasagna, enchiladas, mac and cheese. But look closer and the math changes. The average Amy's entree contains 300 to 500 milligrams of sodium, about half the industry norm. Preservatives none. Artificial stabilizers, replaced by buttercream or olive oil. Even the pasta dough is mixed from scratch, rested and rolled in small batches before being frozen. It's slower, costlier, but biologically cleaner, fewer phosphates, fewer oxidized fats, less metabolic stress. Inside the company's Santa Rosa facility, the process feels less like manufacturing and more like orchestration. Workers still taste batches before sealing. Steam rises from kettles, not chemical reactors. Instead of chemical binders, they use thyme simmering tomato sauce until water evaporates naturally, letting flavor concentrate the way it would in any real kitchen. This patience, though invisible on the label, shows up in the body-stable digestion, lower sodium load, and food that feels nourishing instead of numbing. In an age of supply chain shortcuts, Amy's stands as an anomaly. The company sources most of its vegetables from within the United States and Canada tracking fields, harvest dates, and soil conditions. Every lot of spinach, broccoli, or tomato can be traced back to a specific farm. That traceability adds cost, but also trust, a kind of accountability lost in mass outsourcing. The result isn't luxury. It's normalcy restored. When you heat up an Amy's meal, the sauce separates slightly the cheese browns unevenly. And that's the point imperfection that proves authenticity. There are no emulsifiers forcing everything to behave. The food doesn't try to be eternal, it simply aims to be edible, honest, and human. Financially, Amy's could have followed the big players. Automate, more speed up, stretch ingredients. But the Berliners built a different system, one that values loyalty over scale. Despite higher prices, the company's revenue continues to grow because customers return not for branding but for trust. They don't buy nostalgia or illusion, they buy proof that food can still behave like food. That model carries a quiet message to the rest of the aisle. Efficiency and care aren't opposites, they're coordinates. One without the other creates profit without nourishment. Together, they create sustainability. Amy's shows that frozen meals don't have to apologize for existing. The freezer can be a bridge, not a barrier. The irony is that what feels radical today was once ordinary, clean ingredients, patient cooking meals made by people who care if it tastes right. The modern food system turned those basics into exceptions. Amy's is simply trying to make them normal again. In a market dominated by giants, it's easy to assume that integrity can't scale. But Amy's proves otherwise, that growth doesn't always mean surrender. Because frozen doesn't have to mean fabricated. It can mean preserved, protected, or simply paused good food waiting for the right time to be warm again. Number 7. Evol. Evol doesn't sell nostalgia. It sells clarity, food that admits what it is and still dares to be better. No vintage fonts, no painted barns, no emotional stories about grandma's kitchen. Just clean design short labels, and an idea that good food shouldn't need a disguise. The brand was born in Boulder, Colorado in the early 2000s. Its name, a clever reversal of love. That inversion wasn't an accident, it captured a new kind of affection for food love rewritten for the modern world. Evol believed convenience didn't have to mean compromise, and that frozen meals could be transparent, not theatrical. The contrast with older players is striking. While legacy brands rely on heritage and comfort, Evol's strength is information. Every package lists full ingredient origins, antibiotic-free meat, cage-free eggs, and non-GMO grains. On some boxes, you can scan a code to trace where key ingredients were grown or processed. It's not rustic or romantic, it's honest. The brand built trust, not through emotion, but through data. Inside Evol's kitchens, the difference starts with control. Proteins are sourced from audited farms, vegetables come in fresh, frozen, not dehydrated, and grains are cooked in real stock instead of sodium-heavy slurry. The company, now part of Conagra, still operates semi-independently using smaller dedicated plants where recipes are adjusted in flavor labs rather than mass vats. Each step trims a layer of chemical intervention that other frozen brands rely on. The results show up on the label. A typical Evol meal, say a fire-grilled steak bowl or chicken teriyaki, contains 450 to 600 milligrams of sodium, less than half of what a premium entree like Devour packs. No phosphates, no hydrogenated oils, and far fewer stabilizers. The texture isn't perfect. Sometimes the grains are uneven, the sauce thinner than expected. But that's the beauty of it, a meal allowed to be real rather than manufactured to behave. Evol's innovation is cultural as much as technical. It belongs to a generation that values simplicity over sentiment. Its minimalist packaging mirrors the aesthetic of modern tech: white space, clean typography, subtle color blocks. In an aisle crowded with screaming reds and glossy photos, Evol whispers. That restraint itself becomes a signal of integrity. You don't need to shout if you're not hiding anything. Economically, the model is daring but viable. By reducing advertising theatrics and focusing on visible quality, Evol saves cost where it matters in storytelling and invests it in ingredients. The transparency earns loyalty. Customers aren't buying indulgence or illusion, they're buying understanding. And that kind of trust doesn't expire with the sell-by date. The deeper idea behind Evol isn't just about food, it's about honesty as a new form of luxury. In a marketplace where everything feels engineered, transparency itself becomes rare and desirable. Evol treats clarity the way old brands treated cream or butter, as proof of value. That shift may define the next decade of convenience food. Standing at the opposite pole of Hungry Man or Banquet Evol proves that frozen doesn't have to imitate fresh, it can be fresh, just intelligently preserved. Where Amy's offers warmth and tradition, Evol offers function and forward thinking. One cooks like the past remembered, the other cooks like the future imagined. And that's the real message. The future of frozen food doesn't need to be nostalgic, it just needs to be honest, and Evol shows how. Because progress doesn't always come from new flavors. Sometimes it comes from finally telling the truth about what's inside the box. We began with what felt safe, the frozen dinners that filled shelves and homes for decades, promising warmth, speed, and something that tasted like care. Then we looked closer. Beneath the comfort came the patterned sodium that dulled the tongue, additives built to mimic flavor shortcuts sold as innovation. It wasn't Evol, just a system that forgot what food was supposed to feel like. But not every brand followed that path. A few, like Amy's Kitchen and Evol, proved that integrity and convenience can share the same plate. They didn't rewrite the rules, they simply remembered them. And that's the real takeaway. It's not about choosing fresh over frozen. It's about seeing clearly. When you understand what's behind the label, you stop being a passive eater. The sharper your choices, the stronger your table becomes, no matter which aisle you're standing in.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today analyzes made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.